Good evening and welcome to another community forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell, and welcome wherever you are. And of course, our co-host here, Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron. Good evening to our listeners and viewers on all the various platforms that we are coming to them on. And it's a pleasure to be here again this evening.
Well, Chris, we have an interesting program this evening. Let me say early up front, we'll be going to Carricaou later in the program. We have Senator Norland Cox will join us later in the program. And so stay with us because there's a lot happening in Carricaou. Chris, let me start off by the Bus Owners Association operators. According to information circling, is that they are seeking a $1 fare increase. The justification is that it's a long time, 10, 15 years, a long time, since they had any increases in fares. And therefore, I understand they are presently negotiating with the Transport Authority to reach a solution. And there was some rumor of a strike, but of course they put out a statement saying it was false. They're still negotiating and they're having discussions. But the question is the $1 justifiable, Chris?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I can't remember it being so long since they had an adjustment to rates and bus fares. 10, 15 years sounds as a long time that to me, memory, I can't remember the exact
10 years, it's a long time.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it's that long.
Yeah.
I mean, bus fares, I think is, depending on the route, is $2.50 a trip one way or the next.
But certainly since
and
before
other places
COVID,
is $5 and $10
Right.
in the country area and so on.
Yeah.
But my thing with the bus fare and the increase, I've always said, I don't think the bus owners and the bus associations justify the level of increase that they're coming to. Because remember, if you increase the fare by $1, it's for every passenger on the bus.
Yes.
So if the bus holds 20 passengers, for easy maths,
Yeah.
that is a $20 increase per trip,
Yes.
up and down.
Yeah.
And if you multiply that by the amount of trips they make based on the
Yeah.
route they're on,
Yeah.
the intake will be particularly significant in terms of the dollar
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
And the issue is, yes, gas price continues to fluctuate in the country. The price of tires, the price of brakes, I suppose insurance and
Parts,
so on.
yeah.
All of that have gone up, parts have gone up. But what I think must be done or should be done, I would suggest, is that when you want to level a dollar increase, you need to compare that to what your cost per unit per trip is. So you don't change your brakes every trip. You change brakes every 3 to 6 months depending on the frequency of your trips or the route that you're on. Similarly for tires. Similarly for oil change and all of these things. They don't happen every month. They happen over a period of time. Insurance is for the year. So we need to sit, I think, and with the bus owners and hear how their costs have moved from where they are to what it is now and what they're experiencing and justify the increase. Probably we may find that the dollar is sufficient or is insufficient, but we need to do the analysis and present it to our people so that it's easily. And I want to end by saying this, busmen, when they are working on public holidays, there is double the fare. If you're paying $2.50 on a route, it becomes $5.
Yeah.
And I just always say, if Foodland or one of those other places work on a public holiday, the price of the food in Foodland doesn't go up by 100%.
It's reasonable that they double their fares on a public holiday. Let me tell you why. Utility workers, when they work on a public holiday, they get double pay.
Right.
Other workers, when they work on a holiday, they get double pay. Why should the bus operators not get double pay when they're working on a holiday
the
also?
utility worker get time and a half. So they go by 50%, the busmen going up by 100%. Is the magnitude of the increase. That is what I'm saying. The cost doesn't increase.
We are going to move on, Chris. We're still talking about price increases in Grenada. Lately, since after Beryl, there's been a lot of complaints from consumers about the high cost of local foods, provisions and so on in the marketplace. Particularly, people complain that one plantain costs $5. Now, I'm talking from the perspective of a farmer now. It's supply and demand.
I hear that. I have no problem with
supply and demand. Why in a situation of shortages I'm not allowed to make a bit more?
Okay. So my thing is, again, I come back to the thing, Byron.
Yeah.
How much does it cost
for
a bunch of plantain to grow that has numerous fingers, unless you're doing a giant plantain?
Supply and demand, there isn't. Most of the figs bananas and plantain fell down.
Yeah,
so there's
so
a few trees
I don't
left.
have a problem with
Those that
supply
have
and
it have
demand.
an opportunity to make an extra dollar.
Yeah,
You know,
so-
you could choose not to buy it. You could go to the supermarket and purchase the processed foods if you want that are unhealthy for you, or pay a little more. And this is temporary anyway.
Right.
By Christmas, supplies will be back to normal, and it would be $2
So
for one.
why we gouging? Why we gouging
No,
over
it's
the
not
price
gouging.
increase?
You know,
right?
when others do it, like the importers and the paint people and others do it, and they raise the price for certain oil supply, it's okay. But the poor farmer does this, and we complain.
Yeah, but the price of water ain't go up, the price of fertilizer ain't go up, nothing ain't go up that the other people see that you talk about. So my thing is, yes, price and supply and demand.
yeah.
But why would I increase
Yeah.
a grain of plantain I was paying 50 cents for $1, gone
Yeah.
to $5? That's 500% increase. The question is the magnitude of
It's
the increase.
temporary. By
And
December,
we created more inflation and hardship for our own people.
like Chris, I'm not going to win you here. It's a temporary situation. I want to move on to politics. We've had 2 resignations from senatorial resignations from the New National Party. We've had Katisha Douglas and Senator Neelan Franklin. Here you have a case where, and these are young people, that they've been removed from the Senate. Well, they resigned, and there must be conditions why they resigned, unfavorable conditions, may I add. And at the opposite end, we have the NDC appointing Civil Francis young persons to the Senate. So what's happening here, Chris?
Well, the young people in the Senate is a good indication that young people have an interest in the politics and the understanding of what happens in Parliament and all of that.
Yeah.
That's a good positive sign. However, you need to tread cautiously with the resignations of these 2 senators from NNP, and you have to ask the question politically if the leader of the opposition is not creating room for possible candidates that you hear mentioning to take over the leadership like the party like Dwight Hossford and so on. Mm-hmm. And that could be a move. These senators that are appointed by the leader of the opposition serve at their pleasure to some degree, and they could recall them or ask them to come back and so on, because they want to give other people an opportunity based on strategically how they want to do alignment politically. So those are all justifiable things that they could do. But these 2 young people obviously resigned. You don't know if they were asked to resign or what the situation is, but sometimes when you see these things, you wonder with all else that is going on in NNP and the possibility of a convention not happening, and now they're saying they're signaling before the end of the year it may happen, and all the infighting that is around the leadership of the party with Dr. Mitchell still vying reasonably as it appears, then you have suspicions coming up about whether or not these resignations were done at their own free will or they were asked.
We'll have to see what's going to happen. What's the next stage is going to be. I hear the leadership within the Public Workers Union talking about pension reform. The government have made it very clear that this reform is going to be introduced soon. Public Workers Union are asking for dialogue. It is clear that public workers or any unions were involved on the committee looking at that. Unions were invited, but Public Workers Union was not invited specifically as a union here to represent their workers on this committee. So it's interesting to see how this has been resolved, whether the union would accept it or whether the government would say, okay, fine, let's talk, where this is going to go.
Well, I hear that. I heard the President Grimes speak about it.
Yeah.
And you could say justifiably that the Public Workers Union is a union representing all government workers.
By far.
By far.
Yeah.
And you will have a little tau here and so on.
Yeah.
And you could say that, yes, that is a justifiable reason. They should have been invited to have discussions. So I understand that. But my understanding is that when this committee was formed to discuss pension and pension reform for public workers in particular, the committee invited the TUC. Yeah. The Trade Union Council is the umbrella body for the labor unions.
That's correct.
Yeah. And if the TUC was invited and they refused to come in and not have any discussions on this issue, I can't see now how they could be complaining that they weren't invited. They were invited through their umbrella body.
Okay, so the umbrella body didn't take up the offer.
Right.
But since the government now wishes to introduce new pensions reform, it's reasonable still even at this stage for the government to say, we are proposing this. This is the largest union. This union represents the largest amount of workers, maybe 90%, 80%, by far the largest amount. I see nothing wrong with having dialogue and discussions with them to introduce to them what we are proposed, what we propose.
Well, you see, Byron, I suspect what is happening here. The introduction by the committee is proposing, and government is proposing from October. This is a few weeks away. Right? And normally when the discussions will center around the current scheme that government pays for pension is 100% funded by the government.
Yes.
There's no contributory aspect.
I understand that.
No, I'm just saying that there is still room for some discussion. Well, but I think at this late stage, what the government is looking to do is introduce this thing so that the liability going forward and the ability to fund it going forward
that's fine.
Starts earlier rather than later.
We're talking about dialogue. We talk about, because what can happen if there's no dialogue, the union could be protest around it, So let's avoid that and have the dialogue, which is useful, which is good. Anyway, I hope. Anything else, Chris?
I wanted to talk about the Grand Lake issue.
Oh yes,
we saw in recent press releases that there seemed to be a issue there with some workers. And the union involved has come forward and said they're not happy with what went on. And as a result, the workers, I was told, were protesting a day in the week. Grand Lake, of course, subsequently put out a release saying that some of their operations will be affected because of this current impasse with the union and the current situation with the workers. So it is concerning from the point of view that if it escalates, remember Grand Lake is an essential service. The minister has a lot of power under the act to deal with an essential service. She could bring them to mandatory arbitration to resolve the issue. She didn't do that the last time with the Port Authority, so I'm not understanding why she doesn't use her power. This is not about, this is an essential service. If we have major strike in Grand Lake across the various aspects of Grand Lake, the country could be in jeopardy. Remember, the airport operates on power.
So you think quick action is necessary?
Quick action is necessary.
To resolve
we cannot resolve it through the normal protests, the normal negotiation process, then we need to use the act that we have. And this is something that we have to pay some attention to see what it develops and whether or not it gets resolved quickly.
And of course, the heat wave is on. It's been terribly hot over the last couple of days. It's climate change, folks, and it's likely to get worse.
And we have a lot of systems in the area. A lot of tropical waves coming off Africa. This is the peak of the season.
Let's pay attention.
And we need to be paying attention. We had our share already through Beryl, and we pray that we don't get another one. But the amount of rain that fell, was it Monday of this week? Monday. We had significant flooding, huh? We didn't have no major slides and things based on what we saw, but there was major flooding.
I enjoy the rain, Chris. I don't know about you.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the volume in a short space of time that's the problem.
That's true. Viewers, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Senator Cox to talk about what's going on in Carricaou. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Using excessive amounts of alcohol can increase your risk of depression, and other mental illnesses can be made worse, including exposure to trauma, such as in the case of a natural disaster like hurricanes and major life changes. If you believe you have a problem with alcohol consumption, as well as are having depressive feelings, talk to your healthcare provider, shelter manager, or counselor to get the help you need. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council.
Bank on a bright future with Co-op Bank as we celebrate more than 50 years of partnership with Grenadians. Fund your summer plans with a new Visa credit card and get 5,000 bonus reward points on approval. Or you can get discounted interest rates with financing of up to $50,000 unsecured. With Co-op Bank, you have a future you can bank on. Apply today. Special terms and conditions apply.
Welcome home.
Hey! Grenada, come get your money! We know
know it's been a while, and now we're back! Because on Sunday, October 6th, Megaforce Promotions has all roads leads to Monroe Plainfield for the most exciting bingo game ever! Bucks and money! We're talking 20 bingo games and $100,000 in the box! You decide your winnings! This is gonna be pure fun and excitement! So get your tickets now! $60 for one or $100 for two! Grenada! Get ready for $100,000 in cash as Megaforce Promotion presents Bucks and Money! Sunday, October 6th at Monroe Plainfield. You just gotta be there!
Welcome back, viewers. As indicated earlier, we have joining us this evening Senator the Honorable Norland Cox, current sitting senator for the opposition side in the upper house. Senator Cox, of course, have been a senator for many years and was my senatorial colleague when I was in the Senate as well. And of course, we invited him this afternoon to talk mainly about Carricaou and what is happening in Carricaou, both politically and in terms of the issue of the developmental process in Carricaou, how it's going and what is happening, the pace and all of that. So I welcome this evening Senator Cox. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. Good night.
Good night, my brother, and how are you?
Good evening.
It's been a while, Senator. It's been a while.
Yeah.
we need to catch up. Before getting to small talk, let me say good night to your viewers and listeners of Community Forum and to commend you guys on this program. It is, if I must say, it is one of those programs that dives a little bit deeper and not so much on the political side, but covers everything from a national standpoint. So sometimes we need programs like this. So I just want to commend you on that.
I thank you for those. We try hard to work at it and give a very balanced approach to a number of topics. So we thank you for that.
I hope my other ancestors and I don't create any problems.
At all. The only result we want to see is more sponsorship come for the program. So we take that as it comes.
Well, I do hope that my presence can bring some sponsorship. Somebody might say, we got a sponsor, we want to see Cox back in the program. So
good.
That's hope.
We'll take it if it comes. So, Senator, let's get right into it. I mean, Carricaou relief situation, I want to give you a little context and get your opinion. After we had Ivan, one of the issues we had was capacity to manage post-disaster relief. And what happens when you have monies coming in, you have a lot of goods and services. Yeah. And we had appointed an ARD, Agency for, I can't remember what the acronym meant.
Reconstruction and Development.
Right, Reconstruction and Development. Yeah. And they helped us manage all the various facets of how we offer relief, whether it's in health, in public thing with roads, building back better, security, trauma relief, how schools are affected, the children. And I'm not seeing this happening in a structured way in Carricaou. To me, excuse me, and I could be wrong, you are there on the ground more than me. Do you think that the relief effort is being structurally managed properly as it is after the situation in Beryl so far?
Chris, you're right. You're right on point. And that in itself is what creating the problem. And if I could just go back quickly to my experience in COVID, I was part of the COVID team, and we met daily. But you had a structure. You had a critical person dealing with critical things. You had strategic thinking. You had a plan as to how you're going to address, and in a context where things are unfolding even worse than a situation like this where a hurricane come, create a damage and pass. Unlike with COVID, you have a situation where every day was something different. But what we recognize is, and what I personally recognize, that there is an absence of a plan, and an absence of a structured approach. And I think while it is not currently present, there's an opportunity for the government to do it now, because there is much more work to be done going forward. And if they don't do that, the rebuilding process is going to be messed up too as well.
Yeah, because when we talk about building back better, and I understand the Prime Minister's speak on this, and I think his Honorable Minister Andy as well for MIT, when he was talking about what they'd like to see happen in terms of the homes. But here we are in a context where if we were to not move with the structure, and of course the capacity around the structure, because we don't have the technical people enough of, we don't have the boots on the ground in terms of contractors to build back better and ensure that people in Carricaou get homes that could withstand another system if it passes through, and of course getting back power as quickly as they can, because we're fast approaching the end of the year, Christmas, and we all know what that is about and how people would like to celebrate. Yeah. So the question is, and then of course in Carricaou have a very special thing with land issues and title and who have right boundaries and where they were and could they put them back. I mean, do we really need, don't we really need the issue of getting people in to assist with this process from a capacity standpoint?
Well, capacity in two cases, and you're correct about that. One, capacity in terms of the know-how, and capacity in terms of being able to pay for the Build Back Better recommendations. You have a situation where what Beryl would have done in some cases, and we joke about it on the block, that Beryl would have solved some of the high court cases that would have been pending for years. And so there are some positives in the sense that it gives an opportunity to address some of the chronic issues that we have, land matters, so you can deal with those. There are some chronic issues in terms of access. Like, for example, there are some homes that are landlocked. Persons don't have access, they can't drive to those homes. If they're ill, probably somebody got to hire them out. So there is a clear opportunity for those matters to be addressed now as what existed before. And yes, the whole issue of capacities, it has to do with whether or not persons have the capacity to pay, because from what I understand, those houses that they're proposing or launching, they are going to be sold. If I'm not mistaken, I stand corrected, but that is what I picked up from the last interview with one of those ministers. So yes, capacity, and I think we do have capacity in terms of being able to build, but I think capacity in terms of the quantity of because of the demand of construction now, do we have enough workforce? That is an issue. I think that is something that we have to look at. But we do have good builders, competent builders on island, and I think it's just having the quantity. It's very difficult to get workmen right now because either a contractor or worker is working on his home, at the same time he's trying to earn a living by working on somebody else's. So it's a tight ship that most persons are actually running right now.
Senator, I may challenge you on the that you have contractors, but the quality of the homes. When I hear how some walls had collapsed in some homes after roofs, you get a feeling that some of the standards in what we were doing in Carricaou were not up to par based on what happened with Beryl. But I want to move off that.
Yes and no. Quickly, just to correct that. Yes and no. I think some of the houses that collapsed at that time, the quality of the material, what we find, what you observe is that the blocks that was used at the time for some of the houses was more mortar blocks as against concrete blocks that are being used now. So that is where the big difference is.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my observation for the houses that had walls that collapsed.
And I want to move quickly to security and health, because I know from a security standpoint, I know the police station in Hillsborough, I think would have been covered back and should be up and functioning, as well as a lot of work was done on the hospital, the main hospital. What is your take in terms of security? Because as we get closer to Christmas and people get more desperate to getting to a proper home and enjoy something with their family, you may see an upsurge in crime to some degree. And of course, being an open border as you are from other islands with boats coming in and out, do you see any threat to the security of Carricaou? And I don't want to forget Petit Martinique at all in this discussion, how Petit Martinique is recovering as well. And from a health standpoint, and I particularly want to zoom in on our elderly folks, because I know some elderly folks have been moved to Grenada who they have their children here to give them some level of shelter and peace and calm, but they're not very happy. I know people want to be back in their homes, and the trauma around that for particularly elderly, because after Ivan, a lot of our elderly passed in a short space of time. Is that being looked at from where you sit in your vantage point?
Well, I do know that, as you indicated, that there is a significant number of our elderlies who were residents of the senior citizens home, and some other persons who were transferred to Grenada for better care, better housing, obviously, because of the situation. And so I don't know what are the conditions where they are, but I do know, of course, they are going to be missing their home. So I have a family member who is in Grenada, and I could tell you, so I know the experience. I know how they feel. My mom is actually in Grenada with my brother, and she's ready to come back home because our house was damaged. So just coincidentally, just this morning we were just doing some assessment to commence work because there is no way that we can't get her back in the house before Christmas. So you know what that is like. So that is it. In terms of the health, coincidentally, I was at the hospital yesterday. Yes, they have finished covered the roof, but a lot of work is still required to get the hospital back and ready to receive patients and so. I did even give some commitment that I'll tell them I'll come by and give them a hand to help put things together, because they need a lot of help. They need hands. The staff is not enough to get things back. When you have water everywhere, water damages, a lot of cleaning, a lot of sorting out. So if persons hearing now and they have free time and they can go up to Princess Royal Hospital to help out, to give some hand to the staff there to get the hospital back up and running. So that I know that they're doing okay. In terms of the security, I don't get a sense of that. I don't feel that as a Carricaouan as I move by. I don't sense that tension or that fear. There was a little bit of localized looting or breaking a place just right after the hurricane when the place was dark. Now that we do have some lights back, some street lights back, I haven't heard any major issues with that. I mean, although I had some separate incident myself, but just probably some little kids that are doing some things. But I can't say that I feel that way of that sense of uneasiness where security is concerned. I can't say. If somebody else does, well, that's something different. But from my assessment, that is not the case. However, I do have some other concerns, and maybe when we speak a little bit more on the business side.
Senator Cox, I had the opportunity of hearing some of your comments, both your contributions in the upper house and also at the NNP rally some time ago last week at the Trade Center.
At the meeting, yes, a special meeting, yes. Yeah.
You were clear. I mean, let me just remind you of some of the things that you complained about. I mean, you talk about the pace of relief effort as unacceptable, the housing situation as beyond unacceptable, in that the government has lost the opportunity to really do something important and urgently. I mean, you went as far as accusing the government of nepotism and corruption in some instances, but and on. I mean, you talk about population and exodus of persons from Carricaou, and we could talk about some of these as we go on, but tell us a bit, where's the evidence to support your comments here, sir?
Well, okay. If you want to talk about the relief, in terms of the sluggish response, you can, and every Carricaouan who lives here understand what they're talking about, and most persons feel that way. You have a situation where and I'm looking at in terms of the government response, and speaking from the parliament, you have more than, let's say, 80-90% of homes damaged. I mean, this is our people. I mean, you go around and drive around daily, and you see the conditions where people are. That is the priority. People are the priority. If you want to get back schools going, if homes are not ready, if parents are not in that mindset, kids are not in a condition, what is the likelihood of them coming to school? What condition are they coming to school in? There's a direct correlation between how the home is and in relation to other things that you want taking place. So it's within that context that I indicated that the government is an opportunity to look after, because you look at the supplemental and there was no allocation for homes, for support for homes for Carricaou directly. I mean, there was direct support indicated in the supplemental for St. Mark's and St. Patrick's, and so I was lost why that was not the case, and so I had to single that out. So that in myself, it was an issue. In terms of the nepotism and other stuff, I mean, really and truly, and Chris knows me very well. I choose my platform to deal with certain things, and I probably wouldn't want to go into that in this setting. But the evidence is clear. Persons who were placed to do certain things, persons who received certain support. So it's there. Yeah, it's there. So you see, the challenge with that is that it erodes people's confidence. And that is what you don't want. You want people to have that certain level of confidence that, look, we are on the right path. I'm not saying that they're going to get everything correct. That is impossible. But there are some things that should not have happened, and there's some things that there is no reason for it to happen. And so it's within that context, I say there's a clear missed opportunity. Persons, I mean, Monday you had rains and persons are struggling. Persons are struggling. So I would love to see some dedicated efforts towards direct support for people with their houses. I mean, there were comments made otherwise in terms of persons having the capacity, financial capacity to do their homes, and that has been deemed as unfair if they ask for support. I don't think so. Everybody has been affected. It's a national crisis. It's an island crisis, both Pidimantnik and Carricaou. And if the government
yes, Senator, and that point, on that point, I think is important. I mean, the Minister of Carricaou, Diplomatic Affairs, were on saying that, and you commented on it, that persons with money, including teachers and others who have money, should start back building. Don't wait on government hands out. Go ahead with what you have. And some persons ask, what's wrong with that?
I don't think it was mentioned in that context. No, because persons, we are Carriacouans, and we handle our stuff, and persons are rebuilding. There are persons who started repairing their roof 2-3 days after the hurricane, and there are some persons will never go to government for support. That is who we are. We are Carriacouans. We handle things whenever we can. But for you to make a general statement, you just don't do that. I think that is unacceptable. And the way how the comment was made, as if there was clear evidence that he had some persons banking information for him to say that he's sure that they have money. I mean, that was the takeaway from me. So I signaled that. I had to signal that as a major concern.
We heard the Minister of Carricaou and Pidimantnik Affairs again on social media with bulldozers operating. I think it may have been in the Dumfries area, and he commenting saying that this is going to be a surprise, wait and see what's going to be happening here. But there are concerns about land use in Carricaou generally, because we see what has happened in Limle, for example, where prime agricultural lands, some of your best agricultural land for livestock development and stud particular development, is being converted to a solar farm, without any thinking about using marginal lands for this. And here we have Dumfries again, which is prime. as far as I know, because I'm familiar with the area, where it's been bulldozed without, has there been any assessment, for example, yourself as being a senior as a senior politician, a senator, and familiar with conditions in Carricaou, were there any consultation with you post-burial in terms of your experience and to bring everybody on board, bringing the population together? But what is your comment on those both issues, sir? What's your point on this? Yeah.
Well, on the first issue with the solar farm, but for me, there is, and Chris knows this, something, those are conversations that we normally have. There is this competition or what we may say for development. At the same time, if sometimes you're trying to solve one problem, there are going to be some compromises made on other issues. So you have a situation where we're trying to reduce the cost of electricity, and if you want to go solar, obviously, you're going to have to use some lands. And so there is a question as to where you put it. That is something that you will have to look at. I think in the context of where they placed it, because there were some existing panels there, there is probably some reason why they went there, and also in terms of security, because there is a structure there is a farm there is security. So I guess some of those things play into the reason why they chose that site. Yeah, so that is from my own assessment. I'm not certain going to Dumfries. I don't know in terms of the sun orientation, whether or not they would have get enough daylight to create whatever energy output that they're looking for from that solar field. So those are some of the technical things that will influence where those solar panels are going to be erected. So that one is kind of hard for me to point out. So based on what they were trying to achieve there. On the next matter, just remind me clearly.
Well, it has to do with the Dumfries, the minister. There was excavation taking place. Apparently, we don't know. His house is going to take place there. Have you been consulted as a parliamentarian there?
No. I mean, certainly not. Certainly not. No consultation. No. That didn't happen. But what I decided to do is to raise certain awareness to certain key issues that persons are affected by, and housing is and roofs in particular is one of the key ones, and I've said it and I continue to say it. It's been raised in the context of our livelihood and in the context of how we live in terms of rainwater harvesting. We just came from a brutal dry season where all water resources are low, our stocks are low, and all our roof went on the 1st of July. So obviously, persons were not able to replenish those storage. And now you're going into a next dry season and without any roofs. So my call is I thought there was a clear opportunity for government to move quickly to provide much support as possible for persons to get their roofs back up. If you give them materials and they supply the labor, and you have persons to supervise, or they get the materials and you say, look, we're going to send workmen to help you get it back up, within the context of being able to help them in terms of rainwater harvesting during this rainy season, so that when the dry season comes, it's not going to be a difficult situation. As it stands right now, persons are trucking water. Persons are going for water at some of the localized stations and now says putting water. So persons don't have water currently because they don't have a catchment. And that is the reason why the housing is the most important issue right now for Carricaou.
And Senator, I want to bring back, there were some Chinese low-income houses done in Carricaou, my understanding. There was some damage to them, but I remember seeing the Minister for Carricaou Affairs saying that they were assessing and trying to get it back up as quickly as possible. And I raise this from the context that there are persons in Carricaou who would have had structures, wooden structures, that completely was obliterated by the storm. And probably because of age, some of these people in their 50s, their 60s and older cannot rebuild because they don't have the wherewithal to do it. I would have thought that government by now, through the Housing Authority and other institutions that they have, come up with some sort of formula to do a quick assessment of the people who are in dire need and, as you say, need to get some roof over their head. But again, I want to structure this question from the point of view of capacity, because here we are in Carricaou, as you have signaled, the critical things for us now is construction, putting back roofs, getting power in homes, and so on. And we are not seeing, even though we have to import people to help with the construction of what is going on in Carricaou to get it done. I hope the power, Grenlec had people coming from other islands to assist with.
Carricaou, yeah,
Right,
Carricaou.
Couldn't we structure and institutionalize some of this so that we could get people? Because if we continue at this pace, I mean, I'm not expert in this, but if we go at this pace and what is happening, Carricaou and PM may take 2 years or more to get back to some level of normalcy. And my question is, isn't there a dire need for us to look at this structurally and institutionally so that we could get things to happen quickly or faster than it's happening now?
And it goes back to my original comments. That is absent, and you see, if they don't have a plan, and you see, sometimes you have to communicate the plan to the people with some timelines. You know, you could say, look, we're looking, in the case of schools, we're looking to reopen schools within the next 2 months. These are the things that we're trying to achieve. So people can feel that sense of hope that, look, you know, we are working towards something. But people get up every day and they just go by. They don't know what is going to happen, when something is going to happen for them. You know, only they see some Facebook post or a live saying that they have a meeting for this, so they're giving out something here. It's just, I mean, it's just really feeling a little bit hopeless for a lot of people. But
Senator,
we are resilient in most ways, yeah.
Senator, let me bring this in now, because do you believe, I mean, you're a politician in your own right, do you believe that in disasters like this, we need to be playing a political card and being tribal about who is green and who is yellow, and to see the effect of that happening and understanding if there is political mileage to be gained from doing what we do? Because you are expecting a disaster, then have no color. It's about getting people and the people aspect of it, and getting people back to some level of normalcy. I can't see green or yellow. All I see is a person who is in dire need, their children, for school, what is going to happen with them? Isn't that should be the focus, and put the politics aside? So example, you on the NNP side, the minister is on the NDC side. I would have thought by now there'll be a coming together of the minds, and let us see how we could create a platform where we could give out aid and assistance as is necessitated by what is happening in Carricaou.
Chris, I strongly agree with you, and I believe that I've done quite a bit to restrain myself. I didn't speak on a lot of things. A whole month had passed before I said anything publicly, for fear of, you know, being labeled as trying to score. But then you have a responsibility also, as a leader in your community, to raise awareness. If a platform has not been given to you to participate in the whole the work to rebuild, and I just find myself, you know, and when I see so much things happening, I mean, I just have to speak. You know, you go out on the block and you hear the concerns, you hear the cry, you know, you hear a person saying, look, you know, why is it that workmen, truckmen from the mainland have to come to Carricaou to do work, and I'm sitting right here and nobody didn't come to ask me if I'm interested in doing this or whatsoever. You hear a person saying, look, you know, why they didn't clear a piece of land somewhere to dump the garbage, why they dump all the garbage in all the plain fields. No, we can't access the plain fields, they're going to take so much to get those plain fields. But I mean, those are concerns that came from ordinary people. And it's because of that being emanated, I just echo what has been how persons feel. And so I try my best not to go political, as I said, Chris. I mean, I could say something, but I tell you, this is not the forum I want to, I believe, to speak on some of those things, you know? Some of those tribal things, because a lot of stuff had happened. And I mean, Chris, I mean, you hear the stories of pilfering, and I mean, it's a lot of things, and some of it is not nice, and so I just wouldn't go into those things, yeah? And it's for those reasons that I try my best to manage and to be conservative in how we deal with this, because I want Carricaou to rebuild as quickly as possible. I have a business, Chris, I have a business in Carricaou, and so if the challenges that we have, you know, with persons who had to go to grader for schooling needs for the kids, or persons who just felt like they just can't rebuild and they relocate. I mean, that is commerce being drawn away from Carricaou, and there is a direct correlation to population and business activity. Yeah. And so you could ask any business person, Chris. I mean, you have friends. You could make calls and find out, and they would tell you.
I have been, and I know the correlation with population size and business activity. So I have been the one person for grow Grenada population by 30,000 or more. You know that as a when I was in the Senate. I want to move us now away from Carricaou and the politics of NNP to some degree, because you know, we had 2 resignations recently as senators. Do you believe that there is anything sinister about that, or is it just a normal course of business? And I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean, I'm not charged with the responsibility to respond on behalf of the party, but I mean, I know that my 2 colleagues, I know them very well, and of course I would miss them, because we had our moments, you know.
Did you expect them? Did you expect the resignation? Did you anticipate it?
Well, not anticipate in the sense that there were always discussions around that. I know one person in particular had indicate a time frame, or there was a discussion of a time frame on accepting an appointment. Yeah.
Okay.
So so it's not. I mean, it's not my place to go into those details.
Okay.
But there were valid reasons. Maybe the timing, or the proximity of each would have probably created a scenario as if, you know, something big is happening, but no, that is not the case.
I don't think so.
They're cool. They are solid with the party. I mean, just up to this morning, I had conversation with both of them for different things, and they are cool. And we just, I mean, I'm definitely going to miss them, but I look forward to whoever would be joining me. And let me say this in the context of it, Chris. When the political leader engaged me in 2022 and asked me to be a member of the Senate, right there and then I said to him, I said, look, you know, I just want to just probably do this just for about 2 years. Yeah? And so sometimes those are the conversations that your persons have because they have other commitments and other things. So sometimes people don't know. If I were to leave now, some people might think, well, some kind of falling out, but that is what I'd ask. I'd ask for 2 years.
Okay, staying with the politics.
I'd ask for 2 years, but then there was a strong rejection of the 2 years.
Staying with the politics, Senator. I'm glad my colleague Chris introduced it. You know, I was a bit hesitant. But the fact that we are there, you know. I mean, you're a senior member of the NNP. You won the last for the last election in St. George's South. Of course, you lost. Mm-hmm. The polls indicated thereafter the NNP didn't lose the election because of poor economics or the state of the economy. But what seemed to have come out there was clearly a state of the issue of trust to the Dr. Mitchell, you know, one of the key reasons put forward by persons why. And it's now 2.5 years almost going in that direction anyway that nothing has happened as far as transition within the NNP. We know that Dr. Mitchell indicated on more than one occasion his intention to step down. Other senior members of the party, like Peter David and others, even Ms. Pierre, have indicated intentions to contest. Even Mr. Horsford, we hear, are in that. But the question now is, however,
I thought you might have said that you hear my name.
Well, I'm coming to that. Coming to that. Have a little patience. But other members of the party and senior members of the party have been expressing, and certainly you've been reading it and in social media and elsewhere, that there is some urgency, there's some need to have this convention as part of the important aspect of the constitution of the new national party. It's, the reason put forward, we've heard it from Dr. Mitchell and others, that the reason for the delay is the state of organization of the party. Yet we see the NNP in a very short space of time was able to convene in 48 hours a major political rally, and so on. So you have the organizational capacity to do these things. What, in your view, are the fundamental reasons for the delay of calling the convention? And can we expect to hear your name part of the context for leadership of the party going forward?
Well, let me take the last part first. That would be lovely, if that is the case. But I can't say I can't say that is what is taking place now. But let me start by saying, in terms of leadership in the question of Dr. Mitchell, who has been an outstanding leader, not just for the party, but distinguished within the Grenada sphere and the region. Yeah, you see, with every person who goes that journey for so long, and you have this changing demographics, we have a lot of more young people coming now who are unaware of some of the achievements, some of the things. You would find that they may not be able to resonate with some of those things. And so you would always have this gap in terms of you trying to bridge to bring those minds in terms of what you would have done. Even like for me in Carricaou, sometimes some younger persons, it's easy for them to say, well, look, I don't really know Senator Cox. I mean, while I would have worked for 15 years in agriculture, 2 years, 17 years as a public servant, you still find that there is this gap because there is always this change in demographics. So I could understand what can happen if you do polls and things like that. So those things is quite possible. However, in terms of the convention and delay, I would not say that I wouldn't consider it a delay. I would say that it's basically a necessary time frame for us to do the necessary changes for us to basically to see where we are, and in the context of a lot of things that have transpired. When you lose an election, it is always a very difficult thing for people to deal with. Some person's circumstances are changing, and if you notice, Byron, we had persons who left our party and went over on the other side. I mean, just imagine if you were to move quickly and have convention and you understand, you might have insider people, so sometimes time heals a lot of things. And so I do understand the need for us to do that, and the party is very clear, the leadership is very clear of that, and we are very close to having those things done. And convention comes after your general council, because it's at the general council meeting that is when convention date is going to be announced. Yeah. So sometimes you hear people talk about convention, not understanding that you must have a general council meeting of general council before you have the convention. So persons should have been pointing towards general council, because that's when the date for convention is going to be revealed to the public.
So you have a general council date coming up?
Yes, we do have a general council that is scheduled very soon.
Okay.
So very soon.
But my final question on this, Senator, is that if you look at the leader of the opposition's action over the past period, clearly one don't get a sense that this is someone that is looking to demit to step down. You know, he doesn't, Chris, you know, he doesn't, I don't see that. But what, if you have to advise him on this in terms of going forward, leadership-wise, what would be your advice to him?
My advice to him would be to give me all the advice he can give me, because of the wealth of experience that he has and knowledge that he has. And sometimes, Chris, if in the absence of information, people can't form their own opinion.
No, but advice specifically, hold on, Senator.
In the context of what is taking place.
Hold on, Senator. Advice in the context that if he...
The restructure.
Senator,
the restructuring and no, I'm saying it, I'm responding to say that what is taking place within the executive is not known to the public.
Right.
All right, so what the public see, they form their opinion based on that.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that I would not say that outright that is the case, but that is a decision that rests with him, and sometimes he has his reasons strategically and otherwise for doing and saying what he says. So it is fair for a person to question that, but then again, it's up to the people to decide, the members of the party to decide.
Based on your position,
you want to.
Based on your position and where you are, do you think he intends to continue in the leadership of the NNP?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think so.
Well, no.
Not in that context. I think he's very passionate about the party, which everybody knows, and he would like to continue to play a leadership role, not necessarily at the forefront, but more so to guide the party to ensure that we win the next general elections. That is his objective, and that is what he has communicated to us on many occasions. That is what he's trying to do.
And would your name be a part of the leadership issue? Are you giving it consideration, Senator?
Well, I think I might have to find a way to get you on the delegate list, and you could probably stand up and nominate me at the convention. That will take care of it.
Senator, let me thank you for being part of the program. We have run out of time, and we do appreciate you coming on the program. You're probably one of the first from a political figure that has come on the program and facilitate us and our questions, and of course, you have answered as best as you can, and we do appreciate that, and we thank you for being here with us.
And Chris, one of the things, I mean, from listening to the Senator, you know, what I expect and what I would like is when you have emergencies or calamities of this nature, you want even the politicians, you want the people to come together. I'm disappointed that hasn't happened, because this will make a difference. It's no time here for division and, as you said, green and yellow.
Yeah, tribalism.
No. Mm-hmm. So, Senator, I really hope the Senator continues to request that or seek that collaboration, because it's really important.
Senator, I give you the last word. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to express gratitude for current program. Byron, we were trying to call each other back and forth for a few days, well, you know. Yeah. But however, I'm happy to be on, and if there is a need for me to come on again to speak on any other matter, I mean, I've been a former Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture. Yeah. I've been a Minister for Infrastructure. So if there are any other matters that you would like me to weigh in on, I would love to do so. And just to say quickly, just to congratulate our Olympic athletes and their achievement. I mean, I'm so proud of them, and every opportunity I get publicly to do so, I just want to convey that. And lastly, Chris, man, we drew for Alaga.
Anytime you're back down, anytime you're on the mainland, just call me. Yes. We'll do.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I just wanted one last thing quickly.
Go ahead.
Chris is always a senator. Just remember that. That's what it is.
So I'll call him senator. When I meet you, I'll call him senator.
Don't let him say former. Don't let him ever use former.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. Really appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Viewers, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to thank our technical staff and you for being with us. We'll see you same time next week. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
If you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes, throw off the brine or water from canned vegetables and rinse before using to reduce the sodium or salt. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council.
The Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, in collaboration with the NAP Global Network and the GCRUISE Project, presents Everyone in Action for Climate Change Adaptation, a series of community meetings on climate change adaptation and resilience. Here are the dates to remember. Starting at 5 p.m., Monday 9th September, Mount Craven Community Center, St. Patrick. Wednesday 11th September, Granville Secondary School, St. Andrew. Thursday 12th September, St. John Anglican School, Guave for St. John and St. Mark. Monday 16th September, The Canal, St. David. Tuesday 17th September, Boca Secondary School, St. George. And on Friday 20th September at 10 a.m., we'll be in Carricaou at the Mermaid Hotel. Let's talk climate change. Let's talk adaptation. Let's talk resilience. See you there.